After taking a cab from the airport where my father and I had flown in from Denver on the red-eye flight at 4 in the morning, we arrived at my father's hotel, the Hilton, where my dad would stay for one night so he could help me move into my on-campus apartment. After my father checked in, we brought my 4 suitcases containing all of my possessions from what I thought was a pretty full life, filled with mostly my youngest brother, whom I had raised, to my apartment at 777 South State. We were greeted by a man behind a desk who I assumed was in charge of security. I was asked for my ID, which I gave to him, and he gave me my room key. We were given a box on a cart to put my suitcases in to bring up to my room on the 9th floor. Upon arriving at the apartment, we found that the heat was on full blast. I headed over to the metal door where I could control the temperature and shut the air off. The room, however, remained hot for the rest of the day. As I looked around, I took in my new apartment, and it was disgusting. There was trash everywhere, and it looked as if it hadn't been cleaned all last semester. This was not an auspicious start to my college experience away from home. After I set my suitcases down by the hideous, decades-old couch, which I chalked up to being first apartment furniture, I texted my new roommate. She told me that she would not be arriving for another week. This would give me time to clean the apartment and build up a healthy resentment. I could see the worry on my father's face as we checked the cabinets to see which ones I could stake claim to. All we found inside them were liver-reviving detox tea, condoms, and bubble gum. This was definitely a college dorm. We then made the decision to go shopping for groceries and cleaning supplies, seeing as my roommate had neither. After several hours at the local Target, we came back with 2 newly bought carts full of groceries, cleaning supplies, and dishware. We then set to work cleaning the apartment. Vacuuming turned out to be the hardest of the chores, as the cheap vacuum had to be cleaned out every 3 feet because of all the hair and dust that had been accumulated for what seemed like the past 5 years at least. The bathroom was also difficult only because there was no ventilation, which caused me to almost die of bleach poisoning. My father had forgotten to tell me to use a fan while cleaning the bathroom before he left for the night. It was about 2 a.m. by the time my dad left to walk back to his hotel room, at which point I had to unpack enough to shower, get ready for bed, and to get ready in the morning. By the time I got into bed, it was about 3:30 a.m., and my father was expecting me to be downstairs at 9. It was at this point that I discovered that there's a train right below my window that comes about every 7 minutes or so all throughout the night. So, of course, I had trouble sleeping in this new environment 1,000 miles away from home. I ended up sleeping through my alarm clock the next morning and my father's phone calls. I was abruptly woken up by someone banging on my bedroom door at 9:45. I jumped out of bed, put on my glasses, and opened the door to see what fresh horror awaited me on my first official day living in the apartment. I was greeted by my RA, whom I have never met and have not seen since, who told me she was just here to make sure I was alive. At this point, I checked my phone and discovered that I had 6 missed calls from my dad, and the RA left the apartment, the door creakily slamming behind her, never to be seen by me again. I got dressed as quickly as I could and left the apartment, grabbing my keycard from the top of my dresser as I left without breakfast. My father greeted me downstairs in the lobby, and I gave the same man at the security desk my ID to sign my father in. We then waited for the elevator for what seemed like 10 minutes, stepped in and went up to my apartment to continue cleaning. All that was left was the kitchen, so we cleaned the countertops and the cabinets and started putting away the non-refrigerated groceries. After everything was cleaned, I took some pictures to send to my mother. I waited until this point so as not to worry her. I then walked my father down to the lobby and out the door to say goodbye. My roommate arrived 6 days later and explained that her previous roommate had dropped out and must have thrown a party before she left, and we ended up getting along just fine.